If you've made it this far, thank you for sharing this journey with us. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below, and let's see how far this story has reached. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next emotional chapter coming tomorrow. A new story, a new heart to listen to. Let's keep sharing these moments, one tale at a time. Avery Morgan never believed in fairy tales, not because she didn't want to, but because life had taught her that happy endings usually came with a price. At just 24, she stood at the edge of a decision that would change everything. Her father, a proud man holding on to a crumbling family legacy, had made a deal she couldn't refuse. In order to save their struggling farm in Charleston, South Carolina, he arranged a marriage between Avery and the son of a wealthy investor. That man's name? Daniel Reyes. A name she once held close to her heart, and then tried to forget. They had known each other years ago, when life was simpler, when feelings were real, and promises felt unbreakable. But something had gone wrong. Avery had left without a word, running from love, pressure, and expectations that weighed heavier than any vow she could take. The wedding happened without flowers, without music, without love. A paper ceremony, signed and stamped, witnessed only by lawyers and business partners. No kiss, no ring, just a promise Avery had no intention of keeping. That same night, she boarded a flight to Seattle, her chosen place of exile. She told no one, not even Daniel, who had quietly agreed to her father's deal. In the rainy city of Seattle, she built a new life. She studied, worked at a bookstore, and tried to convince herself that the past was just a closed chapter. 5 years went by in a blur. 5 years of freedom. 5 years without Daniel. Until the letter came. It was her father's handwriting, sharp, rushed, and filled with guilt. He was getting older, he said, and it was time she returned. The deal had always included 5 years of grace. Now it was time to fulfill her duty, not just to the family, but to the man she'd unknowingly tied her fate to. Avery didn't cry when she booked the flight. She didn't shake when the plane landed in Charleston. But as she stood at the curb of the airport, suitcase in hand and uncertainty flooding her chest, something in her heart whispered that this homecoming would be anything but ordinary. She spotted the car, a sleek black SUV. It was familiar in an eerie way. Without thinking, she threw her suitcase into the back seat and slid into the passenger side. "Took you long enough, Dad," she muttered, not even bothering to look. But when she finally turned to face the driver, her heart stopped. It wasn't her father. It was Daniel Reyes, older, sharper, more composed than she remembered, and smiling like he'd been waiting for this very moment for 5 long years. "Still as dramatic as ever, huh, Avery?" he said, his voice low and calm. She froze, because in that instant, she realized something terrifying and exhilarating. She was still married, and this story wasn't over, not by a long shot. Avery's pulse thundered in her ears as the man beside her pulled away from the curb. The car was silent, except for the quiet hum of the engine and the weight of everything unspoken. Daniel Reyes. She hadn't seen him in 5 years, and now here he was, behind the wheel of a luxury SUV, wearing a tailored navy suit like it was sewn into his skin. Clean-shaven, composed, confident. The boy she once loved was long gone. This man, he was a mystery, and worse, he was still her husband. What are you doing here?" she finally managed, her voice sharp, but shaken. "I could ask you the same thing," he said with a smirk, not taking his eyes off the road. "But since you're in my car, I think I win that round." "In your car?" She frowned. "My dad sent this." Daniel chuckled softly. "No, he didn't. He called me. Said you were flying in and would need a ride. Figured I'd come myself. Seemed only fair, considering the circumstances. Avery's stomach twisted. So, he knows? Daniel nodded. He knows everything. He always did. You really think I'd let you disappear for 5 years without keeping tabs? The air inside the car felt thinner. You followed me? She asked, stunned. I didn't interfere, he said, voice steady. I gave you space. I gave you time. 5 years, Avery. That was our deal. She looked away, the world outside rushing past the window, a blur of trees and shadows. I didn't think you'd wait. I did, he replied, because I never stopped loving you. That hit harder than she expected. Why would you love someone who ran away from you? Because I know why you ran. Avery blinked, confused. You weren't ready, he continued. Not for marriage, not for the pressure, not for being trapped in a deal your father made. And I didn't blame you. She felt tears threaten, but blinked them back. Daniel turned into a private road, lined with old oak trees and swaying Spanish moss. At the end stood a massive estate, glowing softly under the golden hour light. Where are we? Our home, he said, parking the her. At least it can be if you want it. Avery stayed in her seat, unsure whether to laugh or cry. I didn't ask for this, she whispered. I know, he said gently, reaching for the door. But maybe, just maybe, this is what we both needed. As they stepped out, the evening breeze caught her hair. She looked up at the place, the house, the man, the future she never planned for. Everything was too real now. And just as she started to question what came next, Daniel turned to her and said, "Let me show you something." He pulled a small envelope from his jacket pocket. Inside, the original marriage certificate. Untouched, unsigned, Avery's heart stopped. You never filed it? She asked, breathless. No, he said quietly, because I wanted you to choose it for yourself. She stared at him, overwhelmed. And for the first time in 5 years, she didn't want to run. Avery stood frozen in the grand foyer of the estate, still holding the unsigned marriage certificate. Daniel had placed it in her hand like it was nothing. But to her, it felt like everything. Choice. For the first time in this whole twisted story, she had one. She followed Daniel into the sunroom, glass walls overlooking the garden. The golden glow of the setting sun wrapped the room in warmth, but Avery felt the chill of something coming. She could feel it in her chest. And she was right. Because not 10 minutes later, the front door opened, and the past came crashing in with stilettos and lip gloss. Julian, the woman's voice rang out. Daniel's posture shifted subtly. It's Daniel now, he corrected, calmly walking into the foyer. Avery stayed still, just around the corner, heart pounding like a drumbeat. Well, the woman laughed. You'll always be Julian to me. Avery stepped forward instinctively, and that's when she saw her. Isabel Tran. Tall, polished, stunning in that magazine cover kind of way. She looked exactly like the type of woman Daniel would have ended up with, if Avery had stayed gone. Isabel, Daniel greeted with polite restraint. What are you doing here? I was in town, she smiled, her eyes flicking toward Avery. And your mother said you were back with company. Her voice made company sound like a disease. Avery lifted her chin. Hi, I'm Avery. Oh, Isabel said, giving her a once-over. You're the runaway bride. The air thickened. Daniel stepped between them. That's enough, but Isabel just kept smiling. Relax, Julian. Sorry. Daniel, I'm not here to cause drama. Just wanted to say hi and drop this off. She handed him a sealed envelope. I didn't read it, she added with a wink. Scout's honor. Daniel opened it, scanned the page, then folded it back with a sigh. You didn't need to bring this here. But I wanted to, she said sweetly. You were important to me once. Avery's voice was calm, but edged. That was a long time ago. Isabel turned her attention fully toward her. And yet, here I am, still looking fabulous. Still knowing this man better than you ever will. Daniel stepped in. Isabel, you need to go. But she wasn't done. By the way, she said casually, I'm pregnant. The room went silent. Avery felt as though someone had knocked the air out of her lungs. Daniel stared at Isabel, stunned. What are you talking about? She smiled. You told me 5 years ago we had unfinished business. I'm just finishing it, with or without your help. Avery stepped back, suddenly unsure of everything. Was this true? Was it another deal? From the past creeping back to destroy the fragile future she had just started to hope for? Daniel turned to Avery, his voice low, steady, desperate. She's lying. But Avery had already turned away, her vision blurring. Because in love, sometimes the hardest thing isn't leaving, it's daring to stay. Avery didn't sleep that night. She lay in the guest room of the estate, alone, staring at the ceiling, replaying Isabel's words over and over like a broken record. I'm pregnant. Daniel had said she was lying. But the doubt had already rooted itself inside Avery's chest, and it was growing fast. By morning, she was packed. She didn't say goodbye. She didn't slam the door. She just left. And Daniel? He didn't chase her. Not at first. He gave her space, again. But this time, it was killing him. 2 days passed before she got the call. It wasn't Daniel. It was Dr. Adrian Wells, Daniel's longtime friend, and a man Avery had only met once briefly. His voice was calm, but urgent. Avery, he said, I know you left, but there's something you need to know. Isabel isn't pregnant. What? She asked, breath caught in her throat. She came into the clinic yesterday. She faked it. She's not even seeing a doctor, just using old test results and manipulating you both. Daniel didn't want to call you himself because, well, he said he didn't want to make things worse. Avery didn't say anything. She just listened, heart thudding. And for what it's worth, Adrian added, he never stopped loving you. He's just too proud to beg. By the time the call ended, Avery was already pulling her bag out of the closet. When she returned to the estate, it was raining. Fitting, really. Charleston always looked beautiful in the rain, but tonight, it felt like a storm waiting to break. She opened the door without knocking, and there he was. Daniel, sitting alone in the dining room, a glass of untouched scotch in front of him, sleeves rolled up, eyes heavy. He didn't look up until she spoke. You should have told me. His head jerked toward her. I didn't know how. You let me walk away. I thought you wanted to. Avery stepped closer, voice firm but shaky. You should have fought harder. Daniel stood slowly. You're right. And just like that, the walls between them shattered. I never believed her, he said. But I knew if I said that, it wouldn't be enough. Not after what we've been through. I needed proof. And now? She asked. Now I need you to believe me? Because I'm done waiting, Avery. I've done enough standing still for a lifetime. She blinked back tears. I believed her for 5 minutes. She whispered. But I've believed in you for 5 years. That was all he needed. He crossed the room and pulled her into him like the world was ending. And maybe, in a way, it was. The end of the doubt, the end of silence, the end of everything that ever kept them apart. They stood in the middle of the storm. No umbrella, no script, Just two people finally choosing each other. Not because they had to, but because this time, they wanted to. It had been 6 months since the storm passed, since Avery came back, since she and Daniel chose to stop running, from the past, from each other, and from everything they had once feared might never be real. They signed the marriage certificate together. No lawyers, no deals, no business strings attached. Just them. Just love. The estate was no longer a house of ghosts. It had laughter again. Coffee cups left half full on the kitchen counter. A dog named Whiskey, who chewed up Daniel's favorite loafers. And soon, another heartbeat. Avery was pregnant. She found out on a rainy Tuesday, the same kind of day she walked back into Daniel's life. Maybe it was fate, maybe just irony, but the moment she saw the test turn positive, she didn't cry. She smiled, because for the first time in years, her future didn't scare her. Daniel had been over the moon, overprotective too. He banned her from lifting grocery bags and read every baby book on the planet. Dr. Adrian teased him constantly, calling him Dad Mode Deluxe. But life, as it often does, wasn't done testing them. Because one evening, as Avery stood in the garden watching the sunset with her hand over her stomach, she heard the gate creak open. It was Isabel, thinner now, paler, and holding something. In her arms, a baby. Avery stiffened. Daniel, who had been inside, came running out the moment he heard the voice. "I'm not here to cause trouble," Isabel said, tired but calm. "I know I ruined everything before, but this isn't about me anymore." She looked down at the infant. "This is my son, his father. He's not in the picture. He hurt me, and I left." Avery felt her chest tighten. "I don't expect anything," Isabel continued, "but I thought, maybe you'd want to know that I'm trying to be better." Daniel stepped forward, gently, cautiously. "Are you safe?" Isabel nodded. "Now? Yes, because I finally let go." And in that moment, Avery realized something. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's survival. They offered her help, not out of obligation, but because no child deserved to grow up in chaos. Isabel didn't stay long, just a week, before moving into a small apartment nearby. She came by occasionally. She never pushed. She never lied again. And Avery, slowly, learned to let go of the bitterness. Love had made her stronger. Motherhood would soon make her unbreakable. And Daniel? He never missed a beat. He held her at night when she couldn't sleep. He kissed her stomach every morning. He talked to their unborn daughter like she was already here. When the baby came, screaming, healthy, perfect, they named her Hope, because after everything they'd lost, fought through, and rebuilt, that's exactly what she was. Hope, the future, didn't need to be written in fear anymore. It could be written in soft mornings, whispered promises, and tiny feet padding across hardwood floors. Because in the end, Avery and Daniel learned what real love is. Not perfect, not easy, but absolutely worth it. Thank you for staying with us through Avery and Daniel's unforgettable journey. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What part of their story moved you the most? Was it Avery's strength to return after 5 years? Daniel's quiet patience and loyalty? Or the moment they finally forgave and moved forward together? Do you believe in second chances, especially when love has been tested by time, lies, and pain? Tell us in the comments. Have you ever had to let go of pride to fight for someone you love? Or maybe someone did that for you. And while you're here, let us know where you're watching from. We love seeing how far these stories travel. Your thoughts, your stories, even your own heartbreaks or redemptions, they mean something here. This is more than just a story. It's a space to feel, to reflect, and to connect. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next emotional chapter. Premiering tomorrow. We'll be here, sharing one voice, one story, at a time.